Today's lesson, we are talking about reflections. You probably know a little bit about reflections already, okay? Because whenever you look in the mirror every morning, you're looking at a reflection of yourself, okay? So a reflection, we're going to do the definition first. A reflection is a transformation that uses a line of reflection to create a mirror image. A mirror image of the original figure. Okay, just like I said, when you look in the mirror and you're looking at a reflection of yourself, the mirror is the line of reflection. That's where you're reflecting. All right, let me use my highlighter here. So a reflection makes the mirror image, and a line of reflection is the line used to perform the reflection. All right, so let's take a look at this picture. When you create a segment by connecting each vertex, they all have the same perpendicular bisector. That perpendicular bisector is the line of reflection. All that means is that if you take these shapes, if you take, remember that we start with the letters, okay? We start with A, B, C, and we move to the primes. So A goes to A prime, B goes to B prime, and C goes to C prime. So what happened with this shape? It went from here and it flipped over to there, okay? You see how it flipped over? And so it's kind of backwards. It's a mirror image of each other. The line that it flips over is called the line of reflection. Okay, so it says, what is the line of reflection in the diagram to the left? This is kind of back into some algebra. Okay, a line of reflection. This line right here is, we have to give it a name. So from the origin, this is the origin. This is where the X and the Y axis start. This line is 2 units to the right of the origin. So all that means is that X equals 2. That means that this line went over 2 spaces. X equals 2. That's the line of reflection. Okay, so here is some reflection notation. The R just means reflection. So that means that something reflected over the line Y equals X. The line Y equals X looks like this. Okay, so that means it flipped from this line to that line, like a diagonal flip. If you flip over the x-axis, that's going to be the line that's right along the x-axis this way. So it flips from top to bottom or bottom to top. If it flips over the line x equals 3, that's kind of like this. This is the line x equals 2, so the line x equals 3 would be right next to it. So that would be, look like this. So it would be flipping from left to right or right to left. All right, and so this says identify the line of reflection. So I can see that this, oh, remember I have to shade in. I shaded in this guy. Okay, so I started off over here and I flipped to the dark. So on this one, I got to figure out, where am I starting? I'm starting with the letters A, B, C, D. I'm ending with the primes, A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. So A flipped over to here, D flipped over to here, B flipped over to here, and C flipped over to here. So let me shade in where we ended. All right, so I started with the light color and I ended with the dark color. That means I went from here and I flipped over to there. Okay, that's my reflection. The line that I flipped over is the line that's right in the middle here. That's my line of reflection. So I flipped from here over that green line to here. So I just have to label that line of reflection. And that one is going right through the origin. Okay, so that line is going to be, that's actually the y-axis, right? You could also call it x equals 0 if you wanted to, but we call it the y-axis. Okay, let's look at this one. This one's a little tricky. All right, if you remember, we start with the letters. So we start with GHI, and we go to the primes. So G went over to G prime. H went over to H prime, and I went over to I prime. All right, so what happened was this guy flipped like this, okay? Flipped like this. So let's go figure out what happened. Okay, it went from the light to the shaded. So it flipped over, so we gotta figure out, it flipped right over the middle. All right, so it flipped right over the middle. This guy right here, which is that's the line of reflection, and that's called the x-axis, which you could also call y equals 0. Okay, that's it for this page.